Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Truth of Transformation podcast. Now, today is an amazing transformation story, one that started multiple years ago and actually a longtime client of mine, Shane Casado, an amazing mom of three, married, working, you name it, she does it. And I think she's got a unique twist to how she came about and what ended up transpiring. So Shane, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So please just enlighten us on a little bit about your life, backstory, how the weight kind of snuck on and what transpired after that.
Sure. So I have three children who are all teenagers now. And so we have a very, very busy life. We're constantly on the go. And I think growing up, I always was involved in some sort of activity. But I think as I started to have kids, so I had the three kids all within 4 years of each other. So it was a quick weight gain. So I didn't have much break in between kids. And honestly, I was tired. I was very tired managing a household with all these kids. And so I kind of let fitness take a complete, it wasn't even on my radar. I was trying to survive and get these kids raised and, doing their thing. And that led to their sports activities. And I really didn't give myself any thoughts, to my health. I mean, I didn't eat horribly. So the weight gain I had put on from the kids, from having them, just stayed. And because I wasn't active, I never fluctuated. I was just at kind of a constant. Again, I didn't eat horribly. And so, but because I wasn't doing anything other than taking care of them, it just stayed. And so I really just thought that was my life. I was going to be overweight. And I grew up in a family that has where most people were overweight. And so I just thought this is where I'm at and this is what I'm going to be. And I never felt like I could lose the weight. I thought that was my path. And I sort of got to a point where I just accepted it. And this is who I am. And I had a weird confidence in that I just accepted who I was. I kind of didn't care. And I think part of that was because I didn't believe I could do it. I didn't believe I could lose weight. I didn't think I had the resources. I didn't have a gym. And I wasn't really even dialed into eating well. So that was sort of how it came on. Yeah.
Now, it's interesting because you said you were kind of at this, almost at a place of peace with it, but yet it sounds like there was some angst in your voice around it. Were you constantly in a mental battle at that point with being at that place? Though you said you're in a place of acceptance, that's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah. So I think for a long time, I just accepted it because I didn't know how to not be overweight. And so, I knew that if I exercised, it would come off, but I didn't have the time and I was completely overwhelmed, but I also didn't feel good. I didn't feel, I wasn't wearing the same size I wore years ago. And so so I think deep down, it did take a mental hit on me. And I was at a constant battle of, trying to just move forward and say, this is who I am. And I just need to accept this. And I just need to move on to, I miss being thin and tiny. I was always the skinny little one in our groups. And, and thankfully I had a super supportive husband who could care less and would constantly say, it doesn't matter. I like you for who you are. And so it wasn't a big enough priority, honestly, to worry about the weight. And it was one of those, I have way bigger things going on. I have work, I have the kids. The weight is just the weight. So yeah, so it was kind of, I was constantly in a battle, I think.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think, seasons of life, I truly believe that there's a time and a place for prioritizing your health above all else. And there's a time where you're in survival. And I can't imagine with three kids, this time I've got 1 3-year-old. So kudos to you. But yeah, it sounds like it was meeting yourself with a place of acceptance so that you didn't have to tap into the emotions of the greater the desire of having the energy and being in a better place. It was acceptance to kind of avoid that.
Absolutely. Totally does.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of us get to that place. So then how did you shift out of that? What was the big change for you that then let you go on this journey?
Yeah, so I saw we were friends on with somebody on Facebook who was going to your gym and was you know being coached by you, and they were overweight, and they were dropping weight like crazy, and I kept seeing her post another picture, another transformation picture, and I for the second that split second that I would see that post, I thought, gosh, if she can do it, I must be able to do it. Like, I'm not used to being overweight. I have been for the last 10 years, but maybe I had this question of maybe it could change. And so that's when we reached out to you and came into the gym, and I don't know, things changed from that point on. I think just that doubt that maybe I could lose weight too, made a huge difference. And so, I came in with the mentality of like, if I could just lose 10 pounds or 15 pounds, I think that would be awesome. That was really my only goal, was to lose maybe 15 pounds, and not believing honestly that I could do it. I didn't think, that I would be able to manage that. And so, so going into the gym, we immediately got hooked up with nutritional information. That changed, and crazy enough, and maybe because it was that I hadn't worked out in years, that within a week I saw a couple pounds drop, and that was the kickstart to, okay, I think I can do this. And so what would happen? I think at the time you asked us to come in 3 days a week, commit to 3 days a week, and I did. And then I thought, well, what happens if I do 4? And well, if I'm getting these results with 4, then what about 5? And what if I change what I'm eating and really add in a lot more veggies, do the protein, drink a ton of water? What could happen? And then it started to spiral, and I lost 10, 15, 20, a lot of weight, and I felt good. And that high was enough to keep me going. And to this day, years later.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to back it up, because you mentioned, you first saw a friend and it shifted your mindset into this belief, like, if she could do it, I could do it. And I think we so often hear that, no, you can't rely on external motivation or any kind of motivation outside of yourself, and it has to come from an internal place. But, that's what gave you that glimmer of hope, which was that external motivation, which then allows you to come in and only do 3 days a week, just really simple, and not over the top, not to the point where it was, going to then burn you out or drive you away. And from there, it sounds like that's when the internal motivation then was able to kick in, because it was actually working for you.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, for me, that external motivation was a lot. The other part was, you had identified, in a very intro email, you had identified that I was a nurturer. So I took care of everyone else. And I don't think anyone ever told me that. And so I think between seeing somebody else have some good results, hearing that I take care of everyone else, but I never really take care of myself, it was kind of, that caused me to say, you know what, I need to start thinking about myself, and I need to be around to help these kids. And and so seeing the external motivation is what got me in the door. And then I think between some self-reflection and, those things, having the access to going back to working out, seeing results, then it became more internal. And then I started to believe in myself again, that I could do it.
Yeah, that's definitely powerful. I mean, I remember that first time. It was your husband Tavo, who had amazing transformation as well, and then you had, I believe it was just your oldest son who was there as well, and they ended up coming up and talking to me and asking a bunch of questions afterwards about some shoulder stuff, and we were working through like some different things that your son was going to do as an athlete, and this is all on day one. And then when you guys were getting ready to leave, I just remember you saying, this is going to be really good for him. And I'm thinking, all right, well, what about you, lady? Like, you're here for you. And so then, that's where that whole, like, well, mom of 3, nurturer, it's kind of your MO to take care of everybody else. And it's why you have such a successful family. So What do you think has been the way that you've been able to handle that shift so that you can prioritize you? Because we have so many people that listen to this show that are parents, especially moms. And that is probably the biggest challenge more than anything else, to feel like you can take the time for yourself and what you're doing is actually beneficial, because it's a thing that we all know. And we know we need self-care. We know. But then to not feel this guilt that you're taking away time that could be spent with them. Like, give us some insights on that whole process for you. I think it's not where I was going to go with this show, but I feel like it's impactful.
Yeah, so I would agree. So I think initially I tried to maintain just the 3 days a week. But then I started to feel, I was feeling better. And so that gave me a lot more energy. I was able to do things with the kids that I probably would have just, like ride bikes or go for a run around the block. Normally I would say, you guys go do that. I'll wait here, because I couldn't, or I didn't have enough energy to do that. So it was a sacrifice at first to get out that door. I had to compromise homework time. I had to, helping with homework. I had to compromise sometimes bedtime. I had to sometimes compromise, eating breakfast with them or, getting their breakfasts ready. But what I also found is that they were really motivated to do things on their own, which, I kind of realized I was sort of hand-holding them a little bit too much. And so they would push me to go. I think I was becoming, I was obviously a pretty stressed mom with 3 active kids. And so there were moments where they were like, Mom, you need to go to the gym. Like, so clearly it was effective. It changed how I reacted with them. It actually gave me more patience at home, because I think I had an outlet to take it out at the gym, or to take it out with a workout or a run or whatever. And so, so it changed. It became a necessity, where something that was more of just a passing, like, oh, I need to do this to lose weight. It became like, I need to do this to be normal and to maintain a normal life. And it was recognized. The kids saw it, everything, all my relationships, work relationships, dealing with them, dealing with, family, that all changed. Yeah. And it became something that I need to be able to do something physical and active.
Powerful. You've definitely made the complete shift. And I love that talk about how they recognized the benefits as well. Just like we as parents can look at them and be like, no, we know what's best for you. Trust us. We love you. They're probably, the same thing, doing the same thing to us, going, yeah, we know what's best for you, Mom. Go work out, take care of yourself so you can show up. They obviously saw the benefits. For
sure. And it's encouraged them to tap into that themselves. And they've always been fairly active, but, there are moments where, now we go, if we go on vacation, it's not just sitting on a tour bus. We go zip lining, and we go, body surfing, and, whatever. So we become, as a family, we've become more active. We started trying to do a 5K every year as a family. It's something we, try to do pretty much religiously, but, and it was so powerful to do that with them, and to have that thing now that we do as a family. And so, so it's expanded our, horizon of what we can do, together, which is really cool.
That's true leadership, to be able to take it into the family. So, because it's so easy for us to just be like, no, what we do is we sit around and we break bread together. And I think that's a lot of family traditions. And you guys have just made being active and doing all these things. And I can't wait to see what your kids are going to grow up having as a structure in their life because of that. And that's an amazing thing. I know they're going to be very influential to their friends and other people in this world because of the changes you've made. So that's really powerful. All right. So what keeps you going these days? Like, you've made the shift and now it's like something you feel like you need, but what keeps you going in spite of the obstacles and all the challenges?
Gosh, that's a good one. Honestly, I feel great, especially when I'm at my, it's not even about the weight anymore. The weight was awesome, but I feel good, and I like that feeling. It clears my head. So it's working out now isn't as much of a chore as it was probably 4 years ago. Now it's just a part of our life. Same thing with our eating habits. It's just, we don't, we get a lot of questions about what diet did you guys do, or how did you do that? And nobody, I think they don't believe us when we say we didn't diet. We just changed, and it's a part of who we are. So it's constant vegetables and, things, all of the basics. That's all the basics that we were taught. And it's I think it's the drive to just feel good, look good, and it keeps me going. And I might take a break from the gym for a month, but I know I need to get back. I know I need to get back into being active. And it's not a question of how, or not a question of when. It's, I'm just on a break, and I'm going through a really stressful time right now. So I'm taking a few weeks off. I'm allowing that, but I still do something. I walk the dog. I, will take really long walks. I might try to run, but I know it's something that I'll always come back to. And same thing, our eating might come off. We might shift in our eating a little bit, but we always know what we have to get back to. And so it's just a part of of our life. And it's easy to try to keep that going because of how it makes us feel.
Playing to the feelings. That is very, very powerful. It's what motivates us as humans for anything. You've been able to tap into that for health. So that's wonderful to hear. So the last question I got to ask is, what do you think is the number one thing that someone on the other side of this podcast, maybe sitting exactly kind of where you were, 4 years ago when you were just scrolling social media and saw a friend, like, what do you think that person out there needs to hear in this moment that would help them on their journey?
To believe in yourself and to believe that you can do it. To find a community, even if it's a friend or a spouse or a family member that can hold you accountable, because that was huge for me too. Yeah, I would think just know that you believe that you can do it and do it. It's easy to talk about it, but it's so hard to put it into action. But the minute you do it once, and you're gonna get hooked, you're gonna see changes.
So belief, accountability, and community. Those are we should put those the ABCs: accountability, belief, and community. I like it.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, Shane, thank you so much for coming on and sharing, and just touching on so many highlighted pieces there, and being able to connect with myself and so many people on this podcast. I appreciate it a lot.
Thanks, Joseph.
All right, my friends, thanks again for listening to another great episode. Now, I do have one request. If you know of someone that's got a amazing success story, or if you know of a transformational coach or transformation authority figure with insights and lessons that need to be shared, we'd love to talk to any of these people. There's a good chance we can have them on one of the next episodes, and they continue to help us all grow as we continue to unveil the truth of what it takes to truly transform. Last thing, love for you to head on over to iTunes and hit that 5-star review button. Helps to get this message out and continue to transform more lives. As always, my friends, Coach Joseph Hawthorne, peace be the journey.